You're not listening. You're waiting. There's a really funny meme that I like, that I see every now and then, and I laugh every single time I see it. And it's the husband is saying, "My wife just said to me, you're not even listening to me." And I thought, that's a funny way to start a conversation. It conveys a powerful message for leaders, and that is that we aren't listening most of the time. And as a result, true leadership is still an elusive goal. So why is listening important, and how can I get better at listening? So while we may believe that we're listening, most of the time we're not. We're merely pausing, and we're waiting for our turn to speak. I'm waiting for you to stop talking so that I can finish my thought, or I'm waiting for you to stop talking so that I can tell you what I think, right? So I'm just waiting, and I'm listening to find an insertion point. I'm listening so that I can figure out what my reply is, or I'm just not listening. I'm thinking about my last meeting, or I'm thinking about a text that just flashed on my phone. So we need to do better as leaders to get better at the skill of really listening to people. And so if I'm in a conversation with you, there are 3 things that communicate to me that you are really listening to me. The first is that you are present. So if you are in a conversation, you should really zero in on the person. So if you're like me, addicted to your phone, put your phone over there, turn it over so you can't reach. So because when you're with me in a conversation, zero in. And so if you're a leader, zero in on the other person to be really, really present. The second piece to truly listen is be empathetic, right? Acknowledge the other person's experience without judgment. And empathy translates into curiosity, right? If I'm trying to understand, that means I'm listening to understand, and I probably am going to have some questions. I'm curious. I seek to understand more of your experience. The best leaders I know are intensely curious. They ask great questions because they're deeply listening. So those 3 things, right? Being very present, being empathetic, and being curious demonstrate to the people that we are engaging with that we are really listening to them. You know, Alan Alda is an actor. I've always loved Alan Alda. I was a big fan of MASH, back in the day. It was a show. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go and watch it. But anyway, he was a great actor, and he said this about listening. The real difference between listening and pretending to listen, I discovered, is enormous. One is fluid, the other is rigid. One is alive, the other is stuffed. Real listening is a willingness to let the other person change you. When I'm willing to let them change me, something happens between us that's more interesting than a pair of dueling monologues. So he was talking about listening in terms of acting, of being present to the other actor. But as a leader, the piece there that I find fascinating is that, and important, is it reminds us to be present, to be empathetic, and to be curious, and let the other person have the option, because we're listening so powerfully that we open the possibility that what you are saying to me can change me. And if I'm really listening, that occurs, that I am listening to you so much, so deeply, so profoundly, that I'm willing to be changed by what you're saying to me. So practice better listening. Practice being more present, more empathetic, and more curious. So that at the end of the day, you're not pretending, you're listening.